connection is not doing so well anymore. All right. Well, it's a new month already, November. Welcome to the game. All Saints Day, isn't it? Hang Seng Index falls. Been going down for a while, but did we just see a bottom? Didn't I just say that before too? A couple months ago. New HSK test starting in November. How much content do we really need? Because NaNoWriMo starts this month. Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. I'm Steven Sersky, folks. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to the new month. I hope you guys have recovered from your Halloween bash, if you did anything. Pretty peaceful around here, as I said yesterday. It was actually kind of a nice day today. Had blue skies once again, and not as much wind as yesterday. But as it is, we're already in the 11th month, and we all know what that means here in China. Shopping, shopping, shopping. Yes, Double 11 is coming up on November 11th. I think the shopping deals have already started. Not sure. I do have a few things I'd be looking to get at. Actually, I'm looking to upgrade my microphones, of all things. I want to get... I was talking about... Did I mention this? I was going to get the DJI microphones. And I've actually decided to hold off on them because in reading reviews about them, although reviews have been very good, the issue is that DJI is not a microphone company. So the only other competitor I have sort of in mind is Rode. Rode makes microphones. They're all over the place. So as a expat, as a traveler, as someone who kind of has the idea that he'll take his equipment with him along the line, I kind of want stuff that people would be familiar with, right? Like GoPro is an example of that. Even the Zoom microphone that I use right now is an example of that. But if you start getting into like the products that are only available in China, they do work great, but if you have a problem with them, can someone fix them? Can you get service on them? And how easy are they to replace? And are you going to get the same quality sort of thing? So, I mean, there's a little bit of a question mark about that. But that being the case, the microphones I was looking at to replace are actually the Rode Go Wireless. The Rode Wireless Go 2 or whatever it is. It's one of the latest ones, released after this DJI microphone thing. And one of the only reasons I'd get these things, if you've listened to my big podcast, the last couple of episodes, I had a few guests in my apartment, in my studio itself, the sound is okay. I was able to sort of finagle it, make it work, but it's all being recorded off this one microphone, and it's not giving the same sort of studio sound that I'd sort of like, and that you're probably used to, probably familiar with in the podcasting genre. So I thought what I would do is get these microphones that clip on to the shirt, and that way it would give me better sort of control over post-production, over sounding, and I wouldn't have to boost the gain as much as well. So that's one thing I was thinking about doing. It's just, I know it's on my end. I hope you guys aren't having issues with the audio quality. I haven't heard anything about it, but then again, I'm not sure if people are listening for that. They're probably listening more for the content rather than for the exact audio quality. As long as there's not like a sound going on, right, all the time. Anyway, if you have any issues with the audio, let me know. I'd be interested just to hear what you guys are hearing, making sure that it sounds good and that your ears are comfortable listening to those extended podcasts. Hang Seng Index. So for those of you who don't know what this is, because you don't follow stock markets, some people watch porn. I look at stock markets. I look at stock charts. Hang Seng Index is actually based out of Hong Kong, so it's the major Hong Kong index. And this thing has been falling for a long time. So the mainland equivalent is the Shenzhen. There's an innovation board, there's a star market, there's Shenzhen, there's Shanghai as well. So the Shanghai stock exchange composite. That's the big one based out of Shanghai, but there's also the Shenzhen that's based closer down. It's like the sort of the mainland tech exchange, whereas Hong Kong is much more international in its exposure, and it's meant as a conduit for foreign investors to buy stocks that are listed that operate mostly in the mainland of China. Now, this thing has been falling for the last long time, and I do know back in the summer, was it August or yeah, it was maybe September already. I was saying that there could be a bottom in, and there was a bottom in June. There was a bottom for the North American markets, and I guess Hong Kong kept on falling, so they've sort of experienced a little bit more of a fall. I'm just looking at the futures now. It looks like gold is actually up. I'm going to take a look here at the S&P 500 just to mark this. Okay, so what we just saw here. In June, there was a bottom. In October, September, end of September, and the middle of October, there was also a bottom. Now, this is what you would call a double or actually a triple bottom at this point. Now, why? Like, what's the big deal about this? If you take a look at a stock chart, S&P 500, probably the Dow Jones would be very similar to this, NASDAQ 100 possibly. What you're going to see is that there's going to be this dip below 3,800. It touches 3,600 on the S&P 500. Now, at the end of September, and from June to the middle of August, we saw this rally take place, and then from middle of August until end of September, we see markets fall down again, and it popped beginning of October, and then fell into the middle of October. Sorry, I'm trying to stifle a sneeze here. There we go. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of October, you see this massive candle down, this massive leg, this push down that happens, and then it shoots back up. Now, that is typically a long tail. That's what we call it. It's typically a sort of an indication of a reversal of sorts where the sellers come in. And what has sort of been said that is happening in this case is that there might be short sellers or people on the other side, like going short the market. So they're selling the market rather than buying it, and they're being taken out. Or the other thing that can happen here is that they put in all these bids, and there's a bunch of buy bids at that point, right? So maybe people are waiting to buy, and if it hits this level, they'll get into the market, or they'll sell. So either way, basically, there's a whole bunch of bids that are available that are just sort of outstanding. And when you see that tail happen, it's when someone, like it's either the market makers, who knows, goes through, basically, they just fill everything that they can. And that's where that causes this sort of this spike downwards, and then this raising up of the price afterwards. So the price of the index actually finishes up on that day because the bids up have been greater than the sells. So hope that makes sense to you guys. But when you see a long tail down like that, typically you start seeing a reversal of some sort going the other way. Likewise, if it's on top, if there's a huge tail or on the top, usually it reverses down to the other side. So end of the is it a bottom? I mean, we're in November. The whatever you call those things in the United States that happens is the primaries. So that's underway right now. Good question. There are some people who track the presidential cycle when we're in year 2 of it right now, and there is sort of a pretty good track record of what happens with this. But I'll let you. I haven't looked this up, so I'll let you guys take a look at it. If I remember, I will try to bring it up tomorrow again. How's that? But yeah, so the primaries are in order, and end of the year, it's usually a good time, typically, and sometimes small caps will do very well at this time of year as well. Anyway, I know a lot of people love hearing about stock market analysis. It's like porn for grown-ups, the other type of porn. I mean, people look at porn and then people look at stock charts. Because you can always say, well, the market's going to crash. Sure, it did. Did you buy any? Well, no, it's still going to crash. Oh. Some people think the market's going to perennially crash. And it's not just your colleagues. I mean, people go on TV and say it too. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch the news very much anymore, to tell you the truth. It's just not worth it. Anyway, other news. HSK 7 to 9 starting November 12th is the first test. I think the registration deadline is this Saturday. I will not take this. This is actually a much higher level than I'm able to do. This is for people that are, if they're studying in a Chinese university in Chinese, right? So if they're foreigners, they're not from China, and they're attending university at some subject like master's, like MBA or something like that, but they're at like Tsinghua University or Renmin University where the classes are taught, and they're not in the international department, but they're actually in the sort of the national school. Then they're all speaking Chinese. A level that would be kind of nice to attain at some point, that I've kind of lackadaisically been approaching, but there's other. I mean, I'm not a student, right? I'm on the other side of studenthood, basically. I'm the teacher. Sadly, I'm supposed to know what's going on at some points. So this HSK 7 to 9, what they do, they're doing one test, and then they based on your results, they'll put you into either band 7, 8, or 9. So this new 9 level basically maps to the IELTS band descriptors. So there's 0 to 9. I don't think there is a 0, is there? It's 1 to 9 for speaking. Overall, no, I think overall, I can't remember if overall is 0 to 9. Anyway, 1 to 9, 1, 0, doesn't. 0 means you basically didn't show up. You flubbed the exam. You walked out of the exam is basically what happens if you get a 0. But 1 to 9, and like band 9 being, native, naturalized speaker. And there's a difference between being native and natural, in that native is someone who's born with a passport from that country, in an English-speaking country, recognized English-speaking country. Naturalized means that, you can be from, I don't know, Mauritius and live in Canada, have a passport, and your accent, you can have what would be considered an accent, but you're Canadian, and you can be a naturalized speaker. Now, your passport doesn't matter in the scoring. And in theory, in HSK, it doesn't either, even though it's only meant for foreigners. The IELTS, doesn't base your grade on your passport. It bases on the commonly accepted pronunciation pattern, right? So band 9 being basically native or naturalized English speaker. Same with, I guess, with 9 here for the HSK, that's going to be your top level. But I'm not sure, because how many Chinese nationals could get a 9 on the HSK test? Because this test is actually and they say that this HSK 7 to 9 test is actually geared towards those who are studying the language. So it almost means like most Chinese people would not be a band 9. They would not even be a band 7. They'd be like a band 6 or 5, somewhere around there, like able to communicate, but would they be able to do everything that this test is asking for? 2 big changes for this test. Number 1, speaking component, which has bumped up the fee. So if I were to take HSK 5, it'll be 550 renminbi, but now they're adding another couple hundred renminbi onto that for the speaking component. So that's number 1. Number 2, there's a translation exercise. This gets me, because I'm like, what other... Is it the Russian test, the TOEFL, the TRLK or whatever it is, that they require translation, I think. The problem with this translation is that it can only be done into one of 5 languages. Well, what if you don't speak any of those languages? It's almost assuming that if you are any global citizen studying in China, you know one of these 5 languages. English, Japanese, I think it's Russian, Korean, Thai. Is there Vietnamese? Maybe there's 6. I can't remember. But it's sort of all of the Gaokao languages, I believe. So whatever they have to study in school here, I think it's the same ones. I can't remember exactly. But that's basically when it comes down to that, it doesn't sound like this test really could be passed by a lot of native speakers of Chinese. To tell you the truth, it just doesn't make sense why the you'd have to translate something like that. And how much do you have to translate? I didn't get this. I'm looking for this article as I speak here. But whether or not it's like a long passage or not, um, I can't really remember. The speaking one is just it's the spoken test from before, so it's like a half-hour test, and then it's added on to the end of the test itself. Okay, so I got this. Let's see, translation. Part 1, Part 2, translate or interpret different genres of materials in foreign languages into Chinese, such as expository essays, narrative essays, arguments, etc., written and spoken. So there's two parts to the translation portion. There's written, two subjective, two questions. Spoken is two subjective questions as well. Oral test, 24 minutes, parts 1, 2, and 3. Retailer express your own perspectives or opinions based on the given essays, including practical essays, narrative essays, and argumentative essays. So that's read and speak, answer questions, and express perspectives and opinions. So that's 24 minutes. The translation is 41 minutes. Now, keep in mind, this is bands 7 to 9. So this is very high level. This is like you're basically working within the language itself, almost to the point that if you're taking this, you're only taking it as a matter of formality to get their certificate to sort of prove proficiency. So I guess if you hold a PhD or something and you want to teach at the university, and they say, well, yeah, in order to teach at Tsinghua, you have to have band 7 at least in your Chinese, or band 8 in your Chinese. This is what they're going for, basically. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. So when am I going to do HSK 5? I am slowly coming to the terms that I might hire a teacher to take me through this book, just because I'm finding it very difficult to get myself motivated to do it. And so the idea would be that I have one or two conversational teachers and then a textbook teacher that would drag me through this textbook, the 18 chapters, even though I've done a lot of it on my own. So maybe if I got a teacher, I'd sort of just try to go as quickly as possible through it so I can get it done within like a 10-course package sort of thing. That's sort of what I was thinking. Or you know what, just give up. Just stop. I mean, honestly, Steve, really? Do you need it? Do you need the language? Speaking of which, I still haven't done my language vlog videos of my class notes, which is something I want to get done rather shortly. All that being said, how much content do we need? So this is one of these things, these questions I make. How much stuff are you listening to or watching these days? How much stuff do you watch in totality? Do you listen in totality? And how much do you remember? And I know I started doing this podcast because I got very wordy with my blog, and I also, I'm not going to lie, who reads blogs anymore? How often do you read a blog or a website? I mean, you read a news website, or maybe you'd read a specialist website. Like I'd read, is it Healthline? And then like Runner's World or something like that. Like something where I do a Google search, but I want a specific answer to something. But typically it's going to be like Reddit or Quora. I go to Twitter just to have a good laugh of what's going on, sort of thing. Like, who's slinging shit today? Let's check Twitter. But everything else, like, it's news articles. So, but with podcasts, and even with podcasts, I only listen to 2 or 3 podcasts. That's it. Which is why I hope that this podcast, being this smorgasbord of topics and stuff like that, is sort of branches out and gives you guys something else to think about or fill your water cooler break time, stuff like that. Hope you are enjoying it, but I do. I mean, I hope it's not like. I hope it's not a waste of your time. Hey, you want to kill time? Listen to Steve. You'll be asleep in no time. To be fair, this audio blog I actually do post. Like yesterday, I did the reading of The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe. It's something, and to be fair, I think I could have done a better job. I'm a little bit, yeah. But what it is, it's done. I might revisit again some other time. But I do also append different tracks to this podcast from time to time, whether it's like sound clips or music clips, and that I don't hear being done anywhere else. And so if that makes this, if it's the one thing that makes this podcast stand out, other than anything else out there, it's that feature, that this is an audio experience that will broaden your horizons. It will enable you to catch glimpses of what's going on from around the world, literally, because, I mean, if you're in Canada, United States, the UK, Europe, parts of Europe, or even here in China, you're catching glimpses from all over, and a little bit of bonus material every now and then, right? I wish I could make it a little bit more standard, but if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I do these month-long challenges, and I'm basically, I'm starting again. It's November, right? Okay, so this is a good segue into my next topic about how much content we need, and I know I've already hit the 20-minute mark that I try to finish by most times, because honestly, after 20 minutes, I think most people are getting tired. Time for a break. Let's have some pie and a beer or something like that. No beer. It makes you bloated. But with this, these month-long challenges, so what I'm going to be doing this month, and I just sat down, I spent my lunchtime writing up the first chapter, NaNoWriMo. So this is the write your own novel within a month. So over the next 31 days, or 30 days, however many days are in November, you basically sit down to write 1,000 words, or you write a chapter or whatever it is. You pick a word target and you write throughout the month of November, and by the end of November you have a book, at least a rough copy of a book, and then you start editing it as well. I know a few editors, a few writers, and I'm not sure if anyone's doing that. I know some people did Inktober, which just ended, but whether or not anyone's doing NaNoWriMo, I'm not entirely sure. But I mentioned this before, that the idea this year that I would try to do I was going to take the Art of War, Sun Tzu's Art of War, and then map it, or rather map language teaching or language learning to the Art of War. I haven't decided which way I really want to take it. So in this writing this first chapter today, it was kind of like, I'll just put down it all. I put it all down, both from the student perspective and the teacher perspective, and then we'll see which one sort of becomes more of a consistent theme throughout, and then just go back and revise a little bit of it as well. So, but that's the goal, is that I'm looking at creating the art of learning a language, something along those lines. And I'm sure someone's done this before. This is probably nothing new. This is mainly an exercise for me to write a book within a month. This is an exercise for me to regurgitate as much as I know about the things I've learned about learning languages, and like what I'm learning as a glorified English teacher, basically. And by glorified English teacher, I mean like I'm doing this Delta, which is a certificate, a diploma. It's a diploma. It's not a certificate. It's a diploma. But putting all this knowledge down, and hopefully someone else can find some use for it as well. Will I sell it? Probably. You know why? Because those lunch times added up, plus the revisions and the design work, honestly, it's all time. It's all time that, yes, I could be. What else would I be doing? I know. But honestly, you could buy me a cup of coffee and we could go through the same material. That will be the idea, is that by buying the book, it will be buying me a cup of coffee. Well, Steve, why don't you just have a donation button? Because no one will use it. Okay? No one will use the donation button. So, most likely, once this month is over, package this book, revise it a little bit, and then put it up onto all the necessary channels for people to actually access. Okay, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well, keeping safe and healthy out there, getting your runs in, eating your broccoli and your vegetables and others, and making sure you are staying creative, because if you're not being creative, what else are you doing with your time? Have a good day is when you have a creative thought, right? And you do something productive, right? I don't know. Feel free to disagree. Thanks for listening, folks. Show notes and tracks up on my website, stevenstrisky.com. We'll do this again. We'll talk again. Bye-bye.